Now, part two is all about your recipes and cooking essentials, and we're going to condense all of that into this chapter, which is Dr. Dean Ornish's meal plan. So what I want to know, Dr. Dean, is what do you eat? So describe your day for us. What's your breakfast? What's your lunch? What's your dinner? How much wine do you drink? What's your indulgence?
Well, I don't have any chronic diseases, fortunately. I don't have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My weight is good. You know, I don't have heart disease. In fact, I actually have.
Follow your diet. Of course you don't.
Yeah, I've been doing it since I was 19. Although when I grew up in Texas eating, you know, a lot of cheeseburgers and chalupas and so on 3 or 4 times a day. So it was a big change when I did make the changes. I actually had a 256 slice CT angiogram, non-invasive angiogram, when I turned 60. And they said that I had the arteries of a 14-year-old, so that made me feel good. So it does work. But for me, I find that still eating the same whole foods plant-based diet is what I recommend. So I have.
Are you a vegetarian or a vegan?
I'm vegetarian. I'm not vegan, but I'm getting closer to being vegan. My big indulgence is chocolate, so I try to limit the amount of that. But good dark chocolate, and my wife Ann is a brilliant teacher in many ways. And in fact, in the Spectrum book, she did a DVD of guided meditations in the back of it. And she's the one on the cover with her arms up in the air. And so she has a wonderful. In fact, we just co-wrote this new book together that'll be coming out in January called Undo It. And I talk about the science, and she talks about how to. She developed a learning management system for all the hospitals and clinics and physician groups that we're training around the country.
Wow.
So for breakfast, I might have, I've really liked steel-cut oatmeal, and I can just put that, cook that, and if I don't have time, I just microwave it in 4 minutes, it's ready. I put a pint of blueberries on it because I love blueberries, and there's a lot of evidence that blueberries actually do make you smarter, which is a good thing. And a little bit of low sugar organic soy milk on top of that. So that's my breakfast usually every day. And for lunch or dinner, it just depends. I'll have a big salad. Living here in San Francisco, we have such access to such great produce, as you know, in the Bay Area, that you can make these incredibly beautiful salads that are just incredibly delicious. And at night, I have a steamer in my stove, which makes it so easy to just steam up something. And people think, oh, broccoli, that sounds gross, but organic broccoli that's just slightly steamed is incredibly good. In fact, most of the vegetables are, as well as fruits. And so it's really easy for me to eat this way.
And I think it's because you've had your taste buds sort of retrained from enjoying a chalupa to enjoying the broccoli, because that was a challenge for me. I'm a sugar addict, and so I was used to eating everything with gobs of sugar in it. Yeah. And so when I transitioned to basically a no sugar diet for 15 months, like nothing, I mean, maybe 2 grapes a day was sort of the maximum sugar I was getting, because also I was sort of almost on a no grains diet. It took, I would say, maybe a couple of weeks for my taste buds to completely get retrained. But boy, you are so right. When they did, yes. I started finding beans sweet. I started finding broccoli sweet.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you train, it's one of the reasons why it's sometimes actually easier to make big changes than small ones. Because if you were always eating some sugar but not as much, your palate would never get a chance to change. It's like people who eat less salt or go from whole milk to skim milk. At first, the skim milk tastes like water. After a while, it tastes fine. After a couple of weeks, you got to dinner and somebody gives you milk. It tastes like cream. It's too greasy.
Yes.
But it wasn't that the cow changed, but your palate adapted. And so making big changes in some ways makes that easier. We distinguish between sugar that comes naturally in fruits and vegetables, for example, from added sugars. Because the problem with sugar, besides the fact that you can eat so much of it without getting full, is that it's like mainlining sugars. So your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas makes insulin to bring it back down, but these repeated surges of insulin cause chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, and on the receptor level, they downregulate it, so you get what's called insulin resistance, which over time can lead to metabolic syndrome and diabetes. But when you get it in, like whole grains are very different than refined grains, because whole grains are rich in fiber, which you get or a whole apple is different than apple juice, because the fiber fills you up before you get too many calories. And it slows the rate of absorption, so you don't get these spikes in blood sugar. You get kind of this nice, constant, slow elevation that doesn't go high enough to provoke an insulin response, and it goes down slowly, so you don't get these wide swings in blood sugar and that carbohydrate craving that comes from it's like putting a pendulum one side, it goes the other. Your blood sugar goes way too high, then goes way too low. So in our program, we don't eliminate carbs at all. In fact, it is mostly carbs, but they're good carbs. They're fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, soy products in their natural form, which are generally rich in fiber. And even if you eat some of the foods that have a higher glycemic index, most of the time people are eating them as part of a meal, and it's the overall glycemic index, how quickly your blood sugar is absorbed, that really gets affected. And so I find that makes it much more sustainable. And plus, there are literally hundreds of thousands of protective substances in fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, phytochemicals, bioflavonoids, carotenoids, retinols, isoflavones, genistein, lycopene, on and on, that have anti-cancer, anti-heart disease, and even anti-aging properties. And the last thing I want to say about that is that I know we have a difference of opinion on this, but there's more and more evidence coming out that animal protein itself is really harmful, independent of the whole fat versus carbs thing. One study came out in Cell Metabolism that found that people who ate a lot of animal protein had a 75% higher risk of premature death from all causes, and a 400 to 500% increased risk from prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And Walter Willett and his group at Harvard, when he looked at 365,000 people in the Physicians and Nurses Health Study, found the same kinds of changes. So animal protein is inflammatory. It also causes oxidative stress. It causes, in fact, most of the mechanisms that we've been talking about are worsened by that. So again, it's not all or nothing. The spectrum is meet people where they are. To the degree they move in that direction, there's a corresponding benefit. But I think, it's good to reduce your sugar intake, but it's also good to reduce your intake of animal protein as well. And we find that's optimal for most people. Just wanted to refer people to our website, which my wife, lovely wife, Ann developed. It's just ornishmyname.com. Everything on there is free. Lots of recipes and science and information about what we're doing. So again, I hope, it's all about raising awareness and giving people the support they need.
Dr. Ornish, thank you so much for this incredible insights, for your amazing books. You have a new book coming up, and we are going to be doing an interview. So for those of you, stay tuned. We're definitely going to be doing an interview that's focused on Dr. Ornish's new book that's going to come out. But give us a little teaser. What's the book about? What's the big aha?
Well, the book is called Undo It, and it's a riff on Just Do It, of course, but also my teacher who said, "What are you, a Hindu?" And he said, "No, I'm an undo." But it's basically the idea that we've been talking about here, that with all this interest in personalization, it's the same lifestyle changes that can prevent and reverse all of these major chronic diseases, and why, and what ties it all together. It'll be coming out in January next year.
Really looking forward to it. Thank you so much. For the rest of you, make those changes. They're not that hard to make. They just seem like they're hard to make. So check out HealthBootcamps. Please check out Dr. Ornish's site. We're going to put a lot of links, a lot of stuff that's free as well. So make sure you check out the show notes and check out Dr. Dean Ornish's diet. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Thank you for raising so much awareness in the world.